All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. It's your host, Brent Bilski, Double B, a.k.a. the 110 Soldier. What's going on today? Got a lot of stuff to get into. I want to start off with a personal thing I got to go to that everybody was talking about. I was here in Los Angeles for the Tom Brady roast, and it was phenomenal. Live on Netflix. Go ahead and pop the first picture up. We're going to talk about this. Did they go too far? Is always one of the most annoying. But there is one subject that some people had an issue with, the whole Aaron Hernandez thing. I will get into it. But, I mean, it was so cool being there. I mean, this checked so many boxes for me personally as a fan of entertainment. It was, for one, stand-up. I am a stand-up nerd. This wasn't just stand-up. This was some dark, messed up stand-up. That's right up my alley. You include that with the sports, not just sports, but the GOATs. I mean, you had Gronk, Brady, Belichick. You had all these legends there, Randy Moss. It was at the Great Western Forum, and this is something I've been wanting to go to since I was 7 years old, the home of Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, their crazy finals. MJ's played there versus Magic. You know what I mean? The Great Western Forum where Showtime was built. I didn't even know it was going to be in that building. I just pulled up with my girlfriend. I was like, holy shit, this is a Great Western Forum. I've wanted to go there since I was 7 years old. It was live, and it's been something that Netflix is working with, and that's huge because I think Netflix and other streamers are starting to understand. Old heads like me know appointment television is different than being able to just binge or watch something whenever you want. That's one thing sports does have an advantage of over other events. The idea that you have to be there in case you don't want spoilers, kind of like the first day of a Spider-Man movie or something. You have to be there in order to experience it live with everybody else. You have to plan around your day. You have to be able to make, certain concessions and do things to where you're there live like everybody else. Netflix is starting to pick up on that. They just picked up the WWE contract for billions of dollars. They're going to do the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. They did some stand-up. Corey mentioned Chris Rock. They did that live. So the live event thing is something, too, I think is a very cool thing that I'm glad to see isn't going away. So altogether, this was a blast. It's stand-up. It's dark stand-up. It's sports. It's GOATs. It's the Great Western Forum. It's a live event. I had an absolute grand-ass time, and so did everybody else. Everyone was talking about it. It was all over social media. And the only thing that, became a different discussion, because I don't want to just play clips of all the funny stuff because everyone's already covered that. Nikki Glaser killed, Hinchcliffe, Gronkowski was actually funny. He's not just a big dumb idiot. He still kind of is. But I mean, rather than just get into all the jokes, I want to get back to this. Did Tommy and the crew go too far when the shots at Aaron Hernandez, the now unalived former tight end, convicted murderer, and was a teammate of the New England Patriots, Tom Brady and crew for a few years? Did they go too far, and did the shots fired at Aaron, quote-unquote, go out of bounds? Football pun intended there. Let me play the video. This was some of the main ones. So most of you that know Aaron Hernandez's story, there were 4 jokes that got really focused on, so let's go ahead and roll those.
The bar for Patriot tight ends was pretty low back then. Block, catch, don't murder.
I'm sorry, Randy. Why don't you have a ring? What the hell, man? You're one of the best ever. Drew Bledsoe has a ring. Aaron Hernandez had a ring around his neck. Like, what's going on?
Tom is afraid of the Giants, which is why Kevin Hart is hosting tonight. It's true. All night, he's been using the stool that Aaron Hernandez kicked out from under himself.
Everyone always asks me how big Gronk's dick is. Now, don't get me wrong, it gets the job done. But there was this other Patriots tight end. Now, he was hung.
So, yeah, there was a few of them there, obviously all referencing Aaron Hernandez, and I have to say, I guess nowadays, unaliving himself. Did they go too far? Obviously, the one who spoke up about it was the former fiance and mother of his 11-year-old child, Shauna Jenkins, said yes. Shauna Jenkins, who, by the way, is also, for those of y'all that don't know, Shauna Jenkins is also the sister of her sister's boyfriend, was Odin Lloyd, the guy that he shot. So they all know each other pretty well. But Shauna Jenkins, the fiance, mother of the 11-year-old child, said that they went too far going to Aaron Hernandez. Quote, "I'm sad that I'm trying to raise my daughter in such a cruel world." My first reaction, honestly, was like, well, tell that to Ursula Lloyd, the mother of, Odin, who's shot, that she went and visited his gravesite for, the next 10 years, pretty much daily, they said. This idea that, there is an 11-year-old involved, and also, this wasn't the roast of Aaron Hernandez. This was the roast of Tom Brady. I could also make the argument even there that it was kind of hard to roast Tom because there really isn't a lot to hit Tom on. I mean, let's keep it a buck. Tom Brady's a 6'4", model-looking, greatest of all-time quarterback in the number one position, the number one sports watched in America of any of the sports. He had a supermodel wife who actually made more money than him. What are you going to hit him with? I mean, all you really had was the fact that he did end up losing his wife to the jiu-jitsu trainer, and they did go at that, the deflate gate with the softballs, deflating the balls. But other than that, you're going to have to, this is a roast. It's on Netflix. There's a lot of pressure. They want to be the greatest roast of all time. There's going to be some strays caught in those situations, and so Aaron Hernandez was part of that. But the question, and we'll put it back up here, did they go too far with the Aaron Hernandez jokes? My personal opinion, not just me, I would say I was there, the crowd, the comics afterwards, the general consensus of people that watched on Netflix is no. And I'll give you a few reasons why here. For one, let's start with the parents and kids thing. I mean, I get that there's an 11-year-old left behind, but if we had to leave out every person from being roasted at a hardcore roast that was the parent of a child, we wouldn't have much really to deal with. I mean, the fact is, if any parents think like, hey, my kid was listening, has a good chance to make an argument, I think Tom does. I think Giselle definitely does. Bridget Moynihan, who caught strays, the one that he ended up leaving her with that child, though all those kids had to hear it. All of them had to hear jokes about, their parents and everything else, and nobody felt sorry for them. They didn't kill anybody, by the way, and I'm sorry, that's a big part of this. I mean, for people that need to be taken down memory lane and maybe still don't know, Aaron Hernandez slaughtered Odin Lloyd. This was not, a Sunday school teacher who just had a bad day. Aaron Hernandez not only killed that dude and was convicted of it, he was tried and later acquitted on a double murder, and most likely because he killed the other guy who was the witness to it. He had also been involved in a sucker punch situation in 2007 where he ruptured a guy's eardrum. He was involved in a 2007 strip club shooting, according to police reports. And on June 17, 2013, he took Odin Lloyd, one of his best friends, and again, his fiance's sister's boyfriend, dragged his ass behind an industrial park, shot him 7 times, and left him there to die. Why? We still don't know because it didn't make a lot of sense. The two most top speculations are A, once again, he was a witness to the double murder that he was also accused, indicted of, and later acquitted. Or that 2, which is even crazier, was that Aaron Hernandez was bisexual or gay or whatever you want to call it, had a lover that he didn't want to get out, came from a very homophobic background, and that the Odin Lloyd guy was going to out him in either the trial or something else. But either way, for whatever reason, Aaron Hernandez decided, I'm going to take one of my friends and my fiance's sister's boyfriend, I'm going to drag him back here, I'm going to pump 7 rounds in him and leave him here to die. And that is, again, after the 2007 police reports that he also ruptured a man's eardrum in a sucker punch. That's after he was involved in a strip club shooting. That's after he was indicted for another double murder. And so when you combine all of that, again, this was not just like, oh, this was a normally nice guy who had a bad day. This was a sociopathic, violent person. And even the unaliving part, which I think is where the most sensitivity comes in with all of this. The fact is, he didn't even think about doing that, and I wasn't there in his brain. But I mean, the fact is, he kind of waited till the tax man came. I mean, it wasn't until he was convicted and facing his life in prison that suddenly he decided, you know what, I don't really want to deal with, paying the toll for everything that I've done. And he wrote notes, by the way, to his fiance. He wrote one to his kid. He wrote one to his supposed lover, the male lover that he had. And so, I mean, he knowingly and willingly said, I'm going to leave this to y'all on your own. I mean, he wrote notes. It wasn't like he didn't think about them when he did what he did. So, this isn't exactly a sympathetic figure. And it was somebody that played on the Patriots and wasn't like the kicker or the long snapper. He was a big part of their organization for a very long time. So that's another reason I really, I think he's kind of fair game, whether he's a parent or, was a parent or not. Another reason I want to bring into why I don't think maybe they've gone too far is that at least the jokes, while dark, and I'm a fan of a dark joke or kind of a toe the line joke, as long as it's, for one, clever, I think that's important. And 2, is it really directed at the person, or is it kind of a, ricochet that's supposed to go somewhere else? All those jokes were either based around really that, Kevin Hart was short or Gronk was a big dick dumb idiot. They weren't necessarily directed at Aaron Hernandez. They were used to move the punchline. I'll give you an example of one that is the other direction, one that I think did, cross the line of it just wasn't a good joke and it wasn't funny and it was just in mean spirit. Amy Schumer caught a lot of shit for this one, rightfully so. Years ago, for y'all that don't remember, Steve-O from Jackass had just lost Ryan Dunn to a DUI accident, and he was up on a roast, and Amy Schumer was up there roasting the other people on the dais, and Corey, if you could run this one for me, drop this joke. This is an example, if you want to talk about one that, maybe went too far or wasn't in good taste, this is the one a lot of people reference, but in case you haven't heard it, here it goes.
But I truly am, no joke, sorry for the loss of your friend Ryan Dunn. I know you must have been thinking it could have been me, and I know we were all thinking, why wasn't it?
And you look at Steve-O's face.
Thank you.
And she's being on, thank you. And I mean, that was a joke that really didn't have, like, where's the punch? Where's the punchline? I mean, where's the clever twist? All it was, hey, your friend died drunk driving, and we wished it was you. Okay. Not much else to that other than that was just kind of mean-spirited and weird. Using that Kevin Hart is short, so they kicked the stool out from underneath that Aaron Hernandez used is at least a Kevin Hart-directed joke. We had to keep it simple for Gronkowski, pass, block, don't murder people. That's at least a shot at Gronkowski being dumb and has some sort of, there's some sort of end around to it. She just went, hey, your friend died and we wished it was you. So that's an example of one that, in my opinion, even as a fan of a roast, was like, that really didn't hit the mark. And most people agree that didn't hit the mark. These ones, I thought, and universally, I was, again, live in the crowd. Most people laughed. Everyone had a good time with it. And so that's the third reason I don't think that they ended up going too far. And the fourth one that I'll bring up real quick is that, Aaron Hernandez didn't take responsibility. So why are we putting it on the comics? I mean, we're talking about, and a lot of people like to use this when they want sympathy. They'll put their kid out in front. The fact is, Aaron Hernandez, again, wrote his unalived note. He wrote one to his kid. He willingly knew, like, hey, I know I'm supposed to be your dad, but I don't really want to face the responsibility of this life imprisonment. I'm going to go ahead and check out early. Deuces, I'll talk to you, maybe in the next life. So, it's tragic. It sucks. And I feel terrible for that 11-year-old. Of course, she's going to hear about this and catch jokes. Everyone watched the Netflix thing, over the weekend. But still, the idea that suddenly now the responsibility is on the comics to be sensitive, again, about a guy who murdered a person in cold blood and had probably killed two others, at least allegedly, and was indicted for it, had beat up other people, had involved in other shootings. Suddenly he's out of bounds. You can't touch him, or you can't make jokes about what he did or how he ended up deciding to leave this planet. I don't think it's fair. I really don't. So, I mean, again, to review, was it kind of sad that there is an 11-year-old still around that has to hear about this, about a dad that's her hero? Sure. Is the fiance got every right in the world to say, like, hey, this is supposed to be a roast about Tom. Why the hell y'all keep bringing up Aaron just to get a laugh? I don't think that's cool. Absolutely. But if you ask me just personally, as my opinion goes, again, if you had to leave parents out, we really don't have much left to play with. And I think if anyone has a right to say, hey, my kids heard that, I would throw Giselle and Bridget Moynihan on that list. Again, he murdered a man viciously, shot him 7 times, either to cover up the double murder that he was also accused of, or because he just couldn't simply handle the fact that someone might bring out the fact that he could possibly be gay. The jokes were at least clever and were directed somewhere else. They were either to make fun of Kevin Hart being short or Rob Gronkowski being dumb. They weren't like the Amy Schumer joke that was just mean-spirited or weird. And again, if Aaron didn't take responsibility, why is it suddenly on a bunch of people that didn't even know him in the comics or teammates that played with him that maybe aren't cool with what he did? Why is it suddenly their responsibility for that child's mental health that we all can't have fun and try to take away laughter, the one thing that we still have that can unify and put everybody together? I'm sorry. I get the frustration. I think she had every right to say her piece, but if you ask me personally, and you guys can let me know what you think, I don't think they went too far. I thought it was in the realm of a roast. I thought it was in good spirit. It was not a guy who was exactly Nelson Mandela or a sweet person. He had a long history of violence, and so throw that all together, I don't think it was their responsibility, and I think they handled it the way they were supposed to handle it, and I had a good time. Everyone else had a good time. Everyone laughed their ass off. It was a lot of fun. I was glad to be there. All right, so that's my first topic. Let me go ahead and throw that one out of the way. Let me move on to someone else. And this is another thing that I had brought up before. And it turns out I got my answer. About a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago now, I had asked a question. I was like, in the NBA, who's our next superstar? Who's next? Because, Steph Curry, LeBron are getting old. Kevin Durant just got swept. Where's our next, American-born stud superstar that's going to take American eyeballs and the NBA all the way into the next level? Turns out, and thank God I at least said maybe. This is the only guy I said maybe for. It's Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, Corey put this picture up. Anthony Edwards is the chosen one. He's Neo. He's it. He was the one I went maybe. I wanted to wait for the playoffs to break off. It's him. It's Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is a stud. The 22-year-old former number one pick now has his Minnesota Timberwolves. They are 6-0 so far in the playoffs. They just swept his hero, Kevin Durant's Suns, and look like rabid dogs. They just kicked the shit out of the defending champions last night, 106-80, and it wasn't even that close. The Denver Nuggets shot 34% from the field, had 19 turnovers, looked flustered. They're throwing shit. They're complaining. They're bitching. I mean, they had them completely out of their own minds in their building. Minnesota got up 2-0 in their building, and it has everything to do with the fact that this kid is on another level. Anthony Edwards has hit that next plateau, and it's not just the eyeball test that's saying that, it's the numbers. It really is. You look at what Anthony Edwards is doing now, regular seasons, the playoffs. I got these for you. Go ahead and listen up. No, this is just me talking here, Corey, but I appreciate he's ready. My man Corey's always ready, and I appreciate that. Regular season of playoffs so far, Anthony Edwards went from 25.9 points a game to 33.4. He's gone from 5.4 rebounds to 7.8. He's gone from 5.1 assists to 5.6. He's gone to 1.3 steals up to 1.8. He's gone up to 0.5 blocks to 1 block, 46% from the field to 53% from the field, 36% from threes to 44% from threes. So to review, he has gone up in the playoffs so far highly in points, also in rebounds, also in assists, also in steals, also in blocks. His field goal percentage is 7 points higher, and his three-point percentage is 8 points higher. Anthony Edwards is just on another freaking planet right now. Anthony Edwards is the one. He's the new one to deal with. He's the new problem. I asked who's our next star. It's him. Good. This is good to know. I mean, someone had to kick down that door and tell all the old guys to move out of the way, and it turns out it's this dude. Maybe the Minnesota Timberwolves do ruin. A few weeks ago said it's Boston and Denver, lock it in. I thought Denver, it's still just 2-0, but they got 2-0, their ass kicked at home because of this dude and his crew. It's going to be a real tough, they got to win, 4 of 6 now to go ahead and kind of, eke out of the series. And man, Minnesota does not look scared. They don't look worried. This dude, but with him out in front, is just put them on a whole different level. And it's so cool. And again, I'm going to keep using the Matrix example here to kind of explain with watching Anthony Edwards. Besides the statistics, what I just give you, again, he's up in points, he's up in rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, field goal percentage, three-point percentage. The game is starting to slow down for him. And it's kind of it's like the Neo scene when eventually he finally realizes with the agents, I can handle this business. This is nothing. Corey, if you can go ahead and go to this video. The game is starting to slow down for Anthony Edwards, much like Neo in the Matrix, much like, go ahead and hit it for me, Steph Curry, Kobe Bryant. It's always around the 4th year that this happens. And it's interesting. All 3 of them, the 4th year, Steph, Kobe, and Ant, the same game, the same quote-unquote, agents, the one that they tell them, like, hey, these are the guys, man. These are the ones that have all the keys to all the doors. In order to win, we're going to have to go through them at some point. And Neo in the Matrix, remember, he stops, finally running too fast. He stops panicking. The hard work pays off. He stops being intimidated. And then suddenly he just hits a switch, and suddenly he can see the Matrix. And everything slows down. That same agent that seemed indefeatable just 5 seconds ago, suddenly he's got like one hand. You know what I mean? He's barely even worried about him. He's barely breaking a sweat. That's what Anthony Edwards looks like in the playoffs for me now. The game is slowed down. He sees the Matrix. Kevin Durant was his hero. Kevin Durant, he says, is my all-time GOAT. Swept his ass and made it look easy. Was dropping 40 by the end of it. Was talking shit to Kevin. That was his agent. That was, the guy that he had to get through. That was the guy that held the doors to see, like, hey, are you ready for the next level? Yamming on him like that. That was just filthy. He's finally seen it, and he's the new one. That's really the best way I can explain it. Anthony Edwards has become Neo, where it all just went like, oh, oh, you agents ain't really shit. What was I so scared of? Why did suddenly, and it just, you can just see him calmly, coolly now decimate, again, not just his hero and the Suns in a sweep, but now is taking on the defending champions and possibly the 3-time MVP in Jokic and making them look like mincemeat. So shout out to Anthony Edwards. You're it. You're next. You're the one. My bad. You still got a ways to go. Now, let me go ahead and clarify this. People comparing him to MJ and saying that he's Michael Jordan's son. He's not Michael Jordan's son yet in real life or in the playoffs. There's been a lot of, speculation and stuff. He looks like Mike. He kind of plays like Mike. And I've seen all these internet videos even getting really down into it, saying like, when Michael was in Washington, that's when Anthony Edwards was born only 9 months later. He was a Washington Wizard. He said he slept with like 4 or 5 women a day. He looks a lot like Michael Jordan, Anthony Edwards does. We don't really know who his dad is. Could it be that MJ's his father? A couple reasons to stop that. One, that's not cool. Second of all, it's really not cool when you consider the fact that if you know Anthony Edwards' story, just so you know, we do know who his dad is. A guy named Roger Carruth, who was never around and from what I understand still isn't around. He lost his mom and his grandmother around the same year at the age of 15 years old. So, this is a kid who growing up had a dad that apparently didn't want to be there, lost his mom at 15, lost his grandma at 16, lost them both in a year thanks to cancer. Mom died at 43, very young. They both died on the 5th. By the way, that's why Anthony Edwards wears the number 5, because both his mom and his grandma died on the 5th, and so he wears 5 in their memory. So be careful with all, it's cute and funny to go like, oh, he looks like MJ. Oh, could that be his kid? They know who his dad is. He wasn't around, and you're kind of insulting his mom, who, by the way, died of cancer along with his grandma. So just be easy with that shit. But second of all, he's not even Jordan on the court yet. Let's go ahead and keep it a buck. So far, I love what he's doing, and like I just gave you this long rant, he's seeing the Matrix. The game's slowing down. It is 6 games. It's still, he's on the right path. He's got the dog in him, as a lot of the guys like to say. You see that toughness and that swagger that you have to have when you go against your heroes and Kevin Durant and others. You have to have kind of an almost unrealistic ego to believe in yourself, to go, oh, that's a Hall of Famer? Yeah, I'm about to rip his shit up. Go ahead and watch this. Give me the ball. Watch what I do. He's got that dog. He's got that swag. It's very reminiscent of MJ, very reminiscent of Kobe. That same attitude and that same fire and that same competitiveness. However, it is 6 games. And while he is averaging 33.4 points per game, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.8 steals, and 1 blocks, it's in 6 games. To give you an idea, Michael Jordan, even early on in his career, won playoffs, averaged 43.7, 6 and 6, 2.5 steals, and a block. Another year after that, he averaged 37, 7 and 7, 3 steals and a block in 16 games played. Matter of fact, Michael Jordan, for 10 straight years, when he played 16 or more games in the playoffs, averaged 31 or more over all of those at least 160 games. He's played 6, and he's played very well. But we're already like, oh, he's MJ. Oh, he's the new MJ. Slow that shit down. He's great. He's the next dude. He's 22 years old, and he's got the Minnesota Timberwolves looking phenomenal. But let's not, call him MJ's son, insulting his now deceased mother, and, completely dismissing. You can Google. His father's name is Roger Carruth. He's also not MJ's son on the court yet. There's still time. He's 6 games in. He's doing great. He's on that path. But he's done, he's given, at least 25 games of putting up these types of stats before we go, oh, that's the new MJ. He is the next one, though. I'm seeing it. He's the next American star. And so we can go to the next picture. I'm going to go back to something. I'm just going to make a quick aside and rant here, because this was another video I caught some shit for. I'm not apologizing the more I thought about this. Boy, I got some comments because I was asking the question. I'm like, who's the next? Not Jokic, not Giannis, not Luka, who are all great for the game and we love them. But who's the dude that's going to follow Steph, Kobe, Jordan, Magic, Bird, LeBron? Who's our American-born star that's going to be able to keep the sport that we made popular? That's our second favorite sport now to the NFL. Who's the guy from us, from our country, that's going to go ahead and lead into the next, realm? And boy, some of y'all gave me the same old woke kind of silly, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? You can't root for the foreign players? No one's saying that, but I'm just reminding y'all, this is just, it's so odd to me that it's so we're the only country that does this. And this is kind of my point. We're like the only ones who think it's not okay to root for our country or for people that come from it. There really isn't another one that kind of follows in this metric. We're kind of the only country that does this idea that And I think it's a scared patriotism because you think it equates with like you're a right-wing MAGA conservative, or just that it's not cool. It's not, you like your country, dork. You know what I mean? Like, it's somewhere in there. I feel like there's some sort of scaredness about, I don't want to seem like a MAGA-wearing right-wing psycho, or I don't want to seem uncool or whatever. But there's kind of a need for our citizens to kind of shit on ourselves and our own country that no other country does. Not one. I don't know what to tell you. Go watch any Olympics, any World Cup, and watch a lot of countries that have it a lot worse and are doing a lot worse things than we are. Every player, every fan has no problem having national pride and being like, yeah, go us. Go people that are born from here. Go our country. We love our country. This is great. We're the only ones that go like, well, what do you mean? An American superstar to play in the NBA that's, filmed here in America and has most of their teams all here in America. What are you getting at? I'm just saying, and again, as I show you, Ant-Man hopefully he wants you to follow him and kind of get into that. Ask the sports that I put behind him. Ask boxing how it's gone since Klitschko and Fury have taken over the boxing world. Ask tennis how it's gone since it's gone from Connors, McEnroe, Sampras, Agassi now to like Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. Ask baseball, since Griffey, since McGuire, since Bonds, how it is now, whether it's, Ohtani or anybody else taking over the game. Ohtani is kind of fun. Ask golf how it's going since Tiger Woods has left, and now it's McIlroy and Day and Rose and Rahm. Ask how their ratings are doing. Just go ahead and Google any of that and see if I don't have some sort of sense I'm being made here of like, dude, American people like watching an American star in the sport that they have grown up and is being aired in their country. And that we're not unique to that. We're not different in that way. We're not dicks or psycho patriot nut jobs. There's nothing. It's just, I don't know. It's like it was a weird thing that y'all made me question. I got these comments like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean, what do I mean? I mean, like every other country. I want, someone from our country to kick some ass in the sport that we love. Is that weird? I don't think so. So there you go. Right there for you. Moving on. Let me go ahead and go on to the next one. Who is the one? I got a fever. Her name's Caitlin. She's a bad girl, man. Caitlin Clark, WNBA season is coming right around the way here, May 14th. We're about to get into it. And, man, Caitlin Clark in her very first preseason game is already doing her thing. But, I mean, the WNBA, as I've mentioned, season comes up May 14th. They're in a TV contract year. This is after the record-setting draft numbers they just got. This, they actually beat the NBA draft rating-wise for the last couple of years and a couple of 2020, 2021, stuff like that. But the number one pick just recently for the WNBA, Indiana Fever Zone, Caitlin Clark had her first preseason game. Go ahead and pop this up for me. She was supposed to get a reality check, right? Well, reality kicked in front of a sold-out crowd, 6,000, sold-out preseason game. Caitlin Clark's already doing her thing. Look at this. Look at this. I don't know what she's going to do with these grown women, man. 11 of the first 19 points, 5 threes, 21, made that poor girl sit down. Go ahead, take a seat. We'll knock that 3 down for you. I mean, everything we saw in college is obviously still there. The handle, the shot, the logo ability, the quick release. Yeah, Caitlin's going to be just fine. The whole, Diana Taurasi, who I'll get to more in a second here, being like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know, Caitlin, this isn't 18-year-olds anymore. This is a grown woman's game. The very first WNBA preseason game that she sold out, by the way, she got 11 of 19, the first 19. She dropped 21 points in like half the game, had 5 threes, dropping people, fadeaways, crossing them up. She'll be all right. She'll be all right. The question is, if we can go ahead and get to this one, this is where the subject gets into the expectations. What are realistic and what are a little bit silly? When you look at Caitlin Clark, do you expect Supergirl or do you expect Caitlin Clark Kent? See what I did there? See with the visual, Clark Kent? It's very funny. But that's really, what do we expect? Do we expect her to come in and just take the WNBA completely by storm, or do we expect her to be this kind of mediocre nobody who, the alter ego Clark Kent who's kind of mild-mannered? I think she's somewhere in between. And so where does that actually, get into? I'm glad you asked that question. First of all, the ratings. She's going to have super ratings. Let's go ahead and check that one off the box. Super ratings are going to happen. The Indiana Fever just recently, by the way, signed a local television rights deal. They're going to have 17 of the home games aired now. NBC affiliates signed the Indiana Fever and going to put them on primetime on their local NBC affiliates. That's the first time that's ever happened. The Indiana Fever now, out of their 40 total games, 36 are going to be on national television. This was the team that was so bad they had the number one pick just last year, and nobody watched them. Are now suddenly 36 of their 40 games are going to be on national television. Again, this is bringing in the girl who brought in at the end $24 million, and others below that, but at least $24 million at one point to eyeballs to the screen. The draft that she was just a part of, where she was picked number one, had 2.5 million viewers. That was a 307% increase. So the WNBA just last year, on average, only got 500,000 viewers. We're going to go ahead and throw that. I'm going to make a nice, easy prediction here. I can guarantee you that Caitlyn alone is going to bring up more than 500,000 eyeballs when you consider the goddamn draft had 2.5. The draft that she was at had 2.5 million viewers. You don't think she can get over 500,000? The most watched regular WNBA season game was Brittany Griner returning. That got to 1 million. I will be shocked if they don't average at least 1.5 to 2 million per game. And when she goes against like the Liberty, which is coming up, by the way, the Liberty, the floor seats for the Liberty Fever game in Madison Square Garden are currently at $10,500. Can't wait till she goes and takes on Angel and Cardozo in the Chicago Sky. That's like the 9th or 10th game. Those are going to hit at least 4 to 5 million, in my opinion. I don't see how they're not going to be able to touch that. So the fact that they're only averaging 500,000 and are going to bump up to at least 1 million, probably on average for Caitlyn, no matter what channel she's on, that's huge. The TV deal comes up next year. This is all sorts of wonderful negotiations and things they can have. This is Michael Jordan minor league baseball, and it's so reminiscent of that. I've used the Tiger Woods, and other people have used the Tiger Woods example. I think the Caitlyn thing really goes more into when Michael Jordan played minor league baseball. Because you can make all the same arguments you can make for the WNBA. Hey, minor league baseball players, they love the game. They work hard. They're talented. Well, nobody watches them. It's not fair. They don't get paid enough. They don't get the support. They don't get the love. And then Michael Jordan showed up and said, hey, I'm going to try minor league baseball out for a couple years. And everybody on the outside had all sorts of opinions. Old people that used to play are like, he doesn't deserve to be there. This is bullshit. Why does he get all this attention? If you asked anybody who played with Michael in that time, go watch Jordan Rides the Bus 30 for 30. They'll all tell you, dude, it was awesome. We loved having Michael Jordan on our minor league baseball team. Not only was it, just cool to have a star of Michael Jordan's level and all the eyeballs that came into it, but he loved the game. He worked hard. He was a consummate teammate. But as somebody who never got to play in front of big crowds, everywhere we went, we were the frickin' Beatles. The Birmingham Barons were suddenly the hottest ticket in all of the country. Everywhere they went was a sellout. Everybody got, all sorts of new attention and eyeballs for themselves. If you're a minor league baseball player, you're trying to come up, you need people to watch you. You need people to, spread your name out. What's better than bringing Michael frickin' Jordan and a sold-out crowd to go ahead and try to make yourself do better? One of our own teammates, Indiana Fever teammate, even said, dude, the first year we played was in actually a barn in front of 6 people. Now we're getting sellout crowds. This is really a better comparison. Caitlin Clark to the WNBA, to me, is very reminiscent when Michael Jordan went to minor league baseball, and suddenly everybody cared about minor league baseball. No one gave a shit about the Chicago White Sox, and then they went on strike and had their old problems there. But nobody cared about Major League Baseball. The hottest ticket in town was the minor league games, and the Birmingham Barons go watch MJ play baseball. I mean, watch if the WNBA and NBA ever cross paths to where they're both in the same city at the same time. Scheduling doesn't allow that, but let that happen one day. I'm telling you, this is the same thing of they could take away from other attention. And the fact is, they're starting their regular season here pretty quick. They're going to bleed into the playoffs. Let's see if television viewership ratings don't start bleeding out because people go, screw the Pacers, Knicks. I want to watch Caitlyn. I want to watch Angel. I want to watch these girls do their thing. It's at that point. It's very Michael Jordan minor league baseball. Numbers-wise, what can we expect? To give you an idea, I think the Rookie of the Year is a lock. Duh. But I also do think, could she pull the Diana Taurasi? Everything's kind of coming back to Diana, which I think is interesting. But Diana Taurasi in 2009 was the only one ever to win Rookie of the Year and the MVP in the WNBA in the same year. Could she do that? I don't know. I think that's where we get into, again, she's not Supergirl. She's great. She's going to do great for her team. I don't think she'll win Rookie of the Year and MVP. I do think she'll win Rookie of the Year. When you look at other guards that were drafted number one that are kind of in her realm of talent and attention. Sue Bird, Ionescu, Kelsey Plum, Diana Taurasi. To give you an idea, Diana averaged 18 points a game her rookie year. Sue Bird averaged 6 assists. Caitlin in college averaged almost 32 points a game and 9 assists. Obviously, that's going to come down a little bit. The top girls in the NBA just last year, total points per game, was Lloyd at about 25 a game and Vandersloot at 8 assists. So throw all that together with realistic expectations. I think she'll be somewhere in the middle. I do think she'll be top 5 in all these categories. I do think she'll be Rookie of the Year for sure. I think she'll definitely be top 5 in points per game and assists. I think she's going to average probably around 22 points a game. 7 assists would be fair. That's going to put her in top 5 in both those categories. The one thing I do think she'll be number 1 in for sure is 3-point field goals made. Ionescu averaged 3.6 per game. She'll hit that. She'll hit 4.5, 5 threes per game on a bad night. I mean, hell, in preseason, she dropped 5 in 21 minutes and didn't even have that great of a shooting night. She'll get over 3.3 field goals made. Get that out eventually. I think that's where she'll be at. So again, realistic expectations. She's going to be Rookie of the Year. She's going to bring all sorts of new ratings and eyeballs. It's going to be phenomenal for that. She's going to at least be top 5, probably about 22 points per game, 7 assists, something around there. She'll be number 1 in 3-point field goals made. She's going to set all sorts of records for sellout crowds and attendance. She's going to bring the WNBA all sorts of wonderful attention, which is great because, again, this is the year they get to renegotiate their television contract deal, which means if they get a good deal, it means they get more revenue. If they get more revenue, there's more money to go around. There's more money to go around. Everybody else gets paid. If everybody else gets paid more, maybe we can stop all the bitching, all the hatred, and all the complaining, all the nonsense, which leads me one more time back to Diana and the last expectation of the reality check. I think it's Diana and crew that are already experiencing the reality check. We already saw her, put some work in the first game, but Diana decided to talk again about her comments, and we can go to this one, Corey. Diana still, just can't put a microphone in front of Diana. She's got some shit to say. This is what she had to say now, kind of trying to backtrack, but still had to just throw a little salt. Go ahead and play it for me.
It's the new fans. They're really sensitive these days. You can't say anything. It's kind of like when you go from kindergarten to first grade, there's a learning adjustment. When you go from high school to college, there's a learning adjustment. I don't think I said anything that wasn't factually correct, and like anything, greatness is going to translate, and she's proven that in every level.
She tries to back end at the end with a compliment and sandwich in her bullshit. But if you can go ahead and go to the next picture here immediately, this is what I've been talking about, and I'm putting it back up. Don't fumble this bag, Diana and crew. Knock it off, man. This even, again, it was kind of on the like, she's great. I mean, I'm just saying from kindergarten to this. And, it's really these new fans that don't really understand. Always got to take a shot at the fans. Always got to kind of take a little dig here and there. This is not the time for this stuff, man. Like I said, Diana leads the crew of the kind of last 5 years of the WNBA of the most insufferable, just pain in the ass. I don't like, they say a lot and they usually will go after the fans. They'll blame them. They'll say a bunch and act a lot of unlikable ways that nobody watches, go, oh, it's because you all suck and you don't appreciate how great we are. That definitely doesn't ingratiate us to want to watch you even more. You got all these new eyeballs. And I'm sorry, that's not even, by the way, bullshit. That's not all you said. She's trying to say in that quote, that's all she said was, oh, I'm just talking about the SVP quote when I said, it's superhuman against 18-year-olds, but she's going to go against grown women. That's all I said, all you new fans. Diana, I got the receipts. I remember, and I could play them again, but I'm too bored to keep listening to your bullshit. When you tried to say, oh, well, we weren't allowed to shoot from the three-point line. I mean, I could have done it too if I was allowed to do it. You're the one who said, I'll take Paige Beckers over Caitlin Clark in a draft to start a new team, even though she didn't have better numbers, she had an injury history, and she lost that game head-to-head. You still had the just completely annoying huevos to go, oh, I'll take Paige. I'd take Paige over Caitlin any day and sip your cup. Don't act like you said just one little thing and you're going to go, oh, these new fans, they're just real sensitive. Bullshit. You said more. I remember. A lot of people remember. And that's hopefully the last time I need to hear from you. Diana, it's like your 20th year. You had your run. Have a little fun at the end of this. Enjoy the new limelight. But other than that, let's focus on the new girls. Let's keep talking to Caitlin. Let's keep talking to Angel. What does Cameron Brink and Cardozo have to say? We don't need to hear from these old vets who are bitter and whining and complaining. Not in a television year. Not when there's all sorts of eyeballs. Not when there's all sorts of excitement that you haven't had. I mean, honestly, again, Tiger Woods golf, Michael Jordan minor league baseball. You've not had this in a very long time. Let's keep away from the bitter old heads and the whining and the bitching and complaining. Let's focus on the new. Caitlin's the new. Angel's the new. Kim's the new. We like the new. We want to watch the new. Old guys, keep it to the back. I don't know what else to tell you. Oh, that's all I said. Bullshit. You said a lot more. Let me get on to this last one here. I'm kind of it's fun now. I'm finally able to start getting back to people that, comment on things. Nobody wants LeBron. My bad. Joe Dirt, Robbie, the fan base screaming, nobody wants you around. Dirt bag. I was all excited. I got all sorts of feedback and comments. I had released these videos where I was saying like, hey, the LA run looks kind of like it's over. Let's start speculating. Where else could he go? Where else can he, and once you draft Bronny, where could the James gang go to find a new home? Let's look at places that have extra picks and some salary cap space, could use a veteran, a GOAT to kind of help push them into the championship, contender run. And I brought up like the Knicks, the Thunder, the Spurs, the Sixers, the Raptors. I threw the Warriors in there. There are these possible, look at all these places we can go. And universally, the comments were just a hell no. I mean, it was 99 out of 100. It was just more than almost everybody was like, dude, we don't want him. F him. We don't need that. We don't want this bullshit. Da-da-da-da-da. I was shocked. I was like, damn. Because, I hate to invoke the MJ, but it wouldn't happen to MJ. Michael Jordan, you got to think LeBron at 39 is still doing his thing. LeBron is still averaging 26, 7, and 8. He just played 70 games and was shooting a career-high 42% from threes. LeBron James at 39 is kind of athletically and prime-wise where Michael Jordan was at 36. And I'm telling you, and obviously I would need a crystal ball and a time machine, but I am flat telling you, if there was a lot of fan bases that were told, hey, you can get Michael Jordan, who's still like 36, end of last dance, prime-wise, still pretty good, 80%. All you have to do is take his kid in the second round. Would you do it? Most people would go, oh, yeah, yeah, we'll go ahead. How old is this kid? 7 years old? I don't give a shit. We want Michael Jordan. We want him for a couple years. He can still produce. We're going to go ahead and take MJ. The fact that I brought up, again, a lot of teams that aren't even really in the playoffs are struggling. I was like, hey, how about the Knicks? How about Philly? How about the Spurs? How about the Raptors? Y'all universally said, F that noise. Matter of fact, my favorite quote was the one who said, I would rather drink pee. He said, I would rather drink pee than watch that hoser, and if I wanted to watch a flopper, I'd go to a swim meet. My guess is that was a Raptors fan. The hoser thing was kind of a giveaway. But, dude, it was universal. It was universal. Like, we don't want him. We don't want his kid. We don't want LeBron. We don't want his nonsense. We don't want his drama. We can win without him. We don't want him to ruin our culture. No. So that was interesting. I was, kind of... even I was getting into the like, oh, maybe you can go here, maybe you can go there. This could be interesting. I'm a Warriors fan. Maybe I could be okay with him taking, Draymond's spot. You know what I mean? I'm doing all the speculation, and boy, I got a lot of comments, and they were great, but it was universally F that noise. And then I saw a clip where he just spoke again, and then I remembered why. He just doesn't have the same mentality of the MJs and Kobes and Magics that, we remember. And it's just always, delusional, diva-like excuses and kind of passive-aggressive bitching. And so I almost forgot. And then I saw this clip, and I was like, oh, that's why. That's why so many people are just, he's at the end of his run, and we're like, dude, pass. Hard pass, even though you can still produce on the court. Corey, if you can throw this one up here for me. They asked him at the end of the season, how did things go, da-da-da-da-da. I almost forgot why a lot of people said no thank you and nobody wants you around, because after they lost to the Nuggets, he had the nerve to say this play.
Our season has been derailed all season with just like injuries and guys in and out. And, I talked about it all year. He was around us all year. I said, it's hard to say who we are, what we can be, because we have yet to be whole. I think we was only probably whole maybe one or two times this year. And I know one of them was during the in-season tournament. We got whole, and we showed what we was capable of doing. But we was just hit with injuries after injuries after injuries, and it was just hard to it's hard to come back from that.
I almost forgot why a lot of people said, dude, we do not want LeBron around. You are bringing up the in-season tournament. Really? Really, LeBron? Are you still that delusional? Is your camp so full of just sycophants and ass kissers that nobody had the nerve to go, dude, you're bringing up the in-season tournament? Really? Do you want to bring this up, big man? Let's bring it up. Corey, hit the next picture for me here. This was their in-season tournament. Let me remind people of what he's bragging about, because basically he's saying like, oh, man, you got to remember we won the in-season tournament. I mean, if we were healthy, that maybe means that we could win a title. The in-season tournament, the murderer's row that they went through is in this box right here. So the groups, remember, they all got divided into groups. The group that he was in was with the Utah Jazz, Portland Trailblazers, Memphis Grizzlies, and Phoenix Suns. The Portland Trailblazers, Utah Jazz, and Memphis Grizzlies were 3 of the 4 worst teams in the entire Western Conference. So they beat a triple team combo that had a combined record of 79 and 167. The best team out of that group who they then beat after that was the Phoenix Suns, who just got swept in the playoffs this year. Then they went on to beat the Pelicans, who didn't even make the playoffs. They lost to them in the play-in. And then for the championship, for their in-season tournament championship, this first ever, the banner hanging, they beat the Indiana Pacers. So, to review, I got to listen to this dude try to tell me with a straight face, well, I mean, if we were healthy, you got to remember, we won the in-season tournament. Again, I keep the receipts. I remember. So your bragging point is that, hey, at one point during this season, you got to remember, we beat 3 of the 4 worst teams in the Western Conference with a combined record of 79 and 167. Then we went on to beat the Phoenix Suns, who now we know got swept in the first round of the playoffs. Then we beat the Pelicans, who didn't even make the playoffs. And our big trophy victory was against the Indiana Pacers, a 6 seed who's about to lose to the New York Knicks and really shouldn't even be there. The only reason they beat Milwaukee is because Giannis and Dame were both out. That is not, I'm sorry, okay, you won the in-season tournament. If you had beaten at least maybe just one, just a Boston, a Denver, a Minnesota, I think you maybe have the right to go, even though it's complete horseshit, to go, oh, look what we did in the regular season. We won this tournament. You beat the Blazers, Jazz, Grizzlies, Suns, Pelicans, and Pacers. I'm supposed to pee my pants that you won that trophy, and you're trying to say that's basically, well, we don't know what we could have been. That is literally the equivalent of a college coach saying we won the NIT Who Gives a Shit tournament. We're like 1 game away from the national title, the actual NCAA title. That's how dumb that sounds. And so, at first I was shocked. I was surprised to go, man, a lot of people don't want LeBron. I don't really get it. He still has a lot of, prime left in his system. And then he says shit like that again. I go, oh, that's right. He's delusional. He's a diva. Nobody can tell him no. He always has to get his way. He just got another coach fired, the 3rd in 6 years. He's going to bring Bronny whether he deserves him or not. He can constantly be a complainer and passive-aggressive. There's a lot of negatives as far as not on the court. On the court, he's one of the greatest ever. Off the court, I forgot. And then he said that quote. I was like, oh yeah. He can be a giant pain in the ass who can be completely delusional, bragging about the in-season tournament. Again, the equivalent of winning the NIT tournament, like that puts you 1 game away from a title. Miss me with that. So, keeping on the Joe Dirt theme, one more picture here for me. Since nobody wants him, I guess you got to stay home. Remember the scene? Brandy comes up. This is Jeannie Buss now playing Brandy. You had a home all along, Joe. You just didn't know it. Anthony Davis' farmer friend. Home where you make it. Maybe his home is in Los Angeles. It really is. I think they're the ones that kind of the fan base that wants him. And even they're 50-50. But at least in Los Angeles, he's got his kids here. His son's playing high school ball at Sierra Leone or Canyon or whatever it is, which is right here in the LA area. They've had, a bubble title, an in-season tournament. I think that's kind of the silliest things to brag about in the world, but some Lakers fans seem to enjoy it. Maybe his home is here. Forget trying to go elsewhere. Forget trying to make some big move. Stay here in Los Angeles where at least some of the fan base still wants you. So this is to the Lakers fans, and I need to, how much time do I got? Am I good? All right, I got 5 minutes. Let me just go ahead and give this to you, Lakers fans. Since apparently this is the only home that kind of makes sense for him, I got good and bad news. There's ways to keep him and get Bronny, but it's going to cost you. And it's going to cost you a lot here. Unfortunately, you can look at the bright side. You can say, hey, we're the Lakers. We had the 5th most wins since February 1st. We had 24 clutch wins in the season. That was 3rd most. It could be the coach's fault. We just got rid of another coach. It might be his fault. And, there's a chance now with keeping LeBron and being part of Clutch Sports and his agency, Trae Young, who's actually rumored right now his favorite spot is Los Angeles. Let's get Trae Young. So we keep LeBron, we draft Bronny in the 2nd round, we get Trae Young, we move on. Maybe, with that 3-man combo and maybe a couple other little moves here or there, we can maybe get past a Denver, get past a Minnesota. We've been close. So here's all the bad news. For one, you're going to have to trade 1st-round picks. You don't have anybody of value under contract currently other than Austin Reeves, Gabe Vincent, Rui Hachimura, and Vanderbilt. None of those are going to get the Trae Young trade done. You're going to have to be able to trade some draft picks to go along with it. Now, you're going to get, because of the way some contract stuff worked out, you're going to be able to have on draft day. Draft day is going to be a huge day for Los Angeles because you're going to go from being able to have 1 first-round pick to trade to up to 3 first-round picks to trade, along with some of the assets that you have. And also, that's the day we'll find out, are you going to be able to draft Bronny? I've already heard there's been reports that Genie has said, look, we're going to go ahead and draft Bronny, whether he deserves to be drafted or not, possibly in the second round. Only problem there is that's the 55th pick. That's the 55th pick. And if I'm a lot of these other teams that has multiple second-round picks, just to screw with you, I'd do it. If I had the 51st pick and I was going to pick some dude from Yugoslavia who's probably a stash and dash I may never play anyways, goddamn right, I'm going to call you and go, hey, taking Bronny, 51. I'm going to need this second round and maybe the next 2 after that in order for you to go ahead and make sure you can get him. You are almost at the very bottom of the draft there. There's a lot of teams, 54 before you, that if they want to take Bronny, screws up a lot of this project. So, Trae Young is great, 26 points per game, 11 assists. But in order to get Trae Young to happen, you will most likely, the most projected number 1 trade I've seen so far says you will trade Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, 2 first-round picks, and you're going to have to use your second-round pick on Bronny to keep LeBron happy and keep him there. And in order to get that pick at 55, somebody else might before them say you need to trade 2 first-rounders in order to get, or 2 second-rounders to go ahead and get this pick, which then means altogether just to get Trae Young and to keep LeBron and have no money to spend on anybody else, you're going to have to give up 2 first-round picks, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent. You're going to have to use your second-round pick and maybe even an extra to go ahead and go up and get him and get Bronny so he keeps LeBron happy. And this is all, by the way, not even considering the fact that New Orleans can take your pick. The first-round pick, the only real future thing you can use to build the future with, is all in the hands of the New Orleans Pelicans. New Orleans Pelicans, because of a trade you made for Anthony Davis a couple of years ago, can decide to take your first-round pick this year or can take your first-round pick next year. And if I'm the New Orleans Pelicans and you just beat me, by the way, in the play-in tournament and we're this close and I have a chance to screw you out of the first round and knowing that you probably have to use your second to draft Bronny to keep LeBron happy in order to try to keep LeBron in Los Angeles, you are goddamn right. I am taking the first pick this year and making sure you have no draft picks. You have nothing to work with. That you have absolutely nothing to work with. I've taken your first away. You're going to have to use your second on Bronny, which means you have no new influx of talent. We're close anyway, so we could use a little addition in the first round. So if I'm guessing, I say New Orleans takes your pick this year. So if you do everything I just said, which is, again, trading for Trae Young with Reeves, Rui, Vincent, 2 first-round picks, and having to use your second-round pick on Bronny, that means you have no first-round picks until 2026. You have 1 second-round pick you can use outside of Bronny in the next 2 years, and you have no money to spend and really no ability, thanks to the new contract and aprons and taxes, to go above and beyond the salary cap much more than you already are to bring in. You can't just buy your way out of this. So, he's got a home, though. You had a home all along, Bron. It's right here in Los Angeles. Lakers fans, good luck with that, because I don't know what else. That's a lot. That's a lot to give up to keep your mediocre. And just so you know, it was actually shown the other day, exactly 500 record over the last 5 years. You were 123 and 123 in the last 3 years combined. You were exactly a 500 team. Trae maybe gets you over the hump, but you got to give up a lot to get him. So we'll see. I'm still just, boy, everybody just universally said, we don't want LeBron. LeBron and his son kiss our ass. I was like, all right. I'd rather drink pee. Someone actually said I'd rather drink pee. I'd take LeBron. But maybe I'm just, I hear it's good for you. That you can survive that way. Yeah, maybe. Getting you know what? We'll save that for the next one. Next podcast, I'll lead with is urine tasty, healthy, and would you rather have that than LeBron James? Till then, I got to go. All right. Well, apparently I'm not done yet. Corey says I got 1 more minute, so let me go ahead and have some fun here. All right. I like to throw dumb, fun videos at the end sometimes to kind of lighten the mood and the palate, talking about Aaron Hernandez and all sorts of crazy stuff today. So this is just a continual Mark Twain. Deep fakes alike can travel halfway around the world before the truth even has time to tie its shoes. Deep fakes are the scariest thing in the world. They were brought to us by porn. Thank you, porn. And they are getting more and more realistic every single day. I keep bringing more and more of them. I brought you Steph. I brought you Caitlin. Now I got Kevin Durant. Let's roll this one. Again, Kevin Durant did not say a word of this. This is all deep fakes. And boy, they're getting good. Go ahead.
Honestly, I never should have left Curry in the Warriors, but Draymond Green was too out of control, and I was scared he was going to beat my ass. Now I'm stuck with Devin Pretty Boy Booker, who gets spanked by Luka every time they play each other, and bum-ass Bradley Beal, who makes D'Angelo Russell look like Kobe. They should hit up Jeremy Lin and start a super team in China because I'm done with them. But hey, at least LeBron's getting sent home by someone who looks like Sketch's dad. Anyways, shout out to Anthony Edwards. I'll be in touch when free agency starts.
Again, that was not Kevin. That was all AI bullshit. But man, I'm telling you, one day we're going to be able to make, political candidates look like they murdered people, and it's going to be so hard to sift and sort. The old movie Running Man, Arnold Schwarzenegger, if anyone saw that, I did not kill him. That was all CGI. Nah. We're getting there. It's cute now. Wait till we start, making people think that they did crimes they didn't commit. AI is going to be fun. Will Smith was right. All right, now I do got to go. Talk to you later.